Welcome to Info Nipo's episode on miniatures.
I've got tiny movie sets and their saboteurs, furry little food connoisseurs, a massive city with wee villagers, sculptures that are not for amateurs. But first, dollhouses with running water and chauffeurs, miniatures. This dollhouse, built as a gift for Queen Mary, has hot and cold running water and functioning lights. It has a vacuum cleaner that works, tiny little shotguns that actually work, record player that works. The wine cellar has 1,200 bottles actually filled with real alcohol. The bubbles had to be taken out of the champagne so the tiny corks wouldn't pop. If this is too prim and proper for you, in the 1940s and 50s, Frances Lee, considered the mother of forensic science, created 18 tiny death houses. They were perfect recreations of actual murder scenes, down to the blood spatters and the cans on the shelves. They are still used to teach police investigators how to observe and analyze a crime scene. Taking it another step further, artist Mariel Clayton creates graphic murder and sex scenes with Barbies, most of which I can't show you. Her attention to detail is incredible, with tiny guns, Barbie puke, and decapitated Ken heads. This is what I imagine it would look like if Barbie broke into Queen Mary's dollhouse. Miniatures. Okay, here's an amazing sculpture. You're probably thinking, it's alright, but not amazing. Let me pull out. How about if it was in the eye of a needle? Willard Wiggin creates tiny little pieces of art using a microscope. He says his autism allows him to hyper-focus on his carvings. He slows down his heart rate so he can sculpt between the beats of his heart. He uses an eyelash as a paintbrush. A fly once landed beside a piece he was working on, and the flapping of its wings blew the sculpture away. He looked and looked, but couldn't find it. Another time he accidentally inhaled an Alice in Wonderland miniature he was working on. His pieces usually go for around $200,000, but this watch with a microscopic Wiggin ship encased in it is worth $2 million. Sadly, Wiggin says he gets no enjoyment of making his tiny sculptures. Here is the world's smallest violin playing just for him. Wait, he did that too. Miniatures. Remember the climactic fight scene in Hot Fuzz where they destroy the tiny replica village? That was based on the real Bourton-on-the-Water model village in England. It's crazy how real it feels moving down the streets. The largest miniature city is in Hamburg. There are 300,000 figures, 1,230 trains, 11,800 cars that recharge themselves at a station when their batteries get low. There is a concert venue, an F1 racetrack, and an airport. Of course, you don't really need to go through all this time and expense to shrink things down. These are tilt-shift videos. Basically, it's a photography technique that uses a special lens to make everything look like tiny toys. Here is a farm, carnival, and people at the beach. Tilt-shift makes everything look so sweet and innocent. I mean, here's an adorable riot, a wee little flood, and how cute is this ballistic missile heading off to start World War III? Miniatures. Miniature food is huge on YouTube. Yes, I know how stupid that sounds. Chefs are making tiny meals in their custom-built tiny kitchens. How do they do it? Well, sometimes it's just about using a very small amount of the ingredients, like a couple of grains of rice, to make sushi. Sometimes it's about finding substitutes, a quail's egg instead of a regular chicken's egg. Brands are even getting in on the trend. KFC opened a one-day pop-up in Portland, Oregon, where they served guests tiny versions of their fried chicken, biscuits, and mashed potatoes. They even cooked it in a tiny pressure cooker. Of course, these meals are not going to fill up a regular human, but for a hamster, it's perfect. Cute little meals for hamsters started when this guy made a mini burrito for his furry little friend. Bogart, the hamster actor, had to eat about 20 burritos before he got it right. The hamster burrito was quickly followed by imitators. Hamsters eating pancakes, sandwiches, and even pie. However, hamsters aren't always happy with the meals prepared for them. This dude was so pissed off that his tiny pizza had anchovies on it that he flipped the table. Miniatures. Let's look back at some of the coolest uses of miniatures in film. The spinners in Blade Runner, Minas Tirith in The Lord of the Rings, and the ship in Alien. These are actually the director's sons in mini spacesuits to make the model look bigger. But with the improvement of CGI, you don't need miniatures anymore, right? Depends on who you ask. Both directors Christopher Nolan and Wes Anderson insist on using miniatures. Nolan feels you can tell the difference when you're shooting something real, and Anderson just loves the look of miniatures. Here's the hotel in the Grand Budapest Hotel, beautifully constructed, even though it's only in the movie for seconds at a time. There are certain situations where it is impossible to use miniatures, anytime there's water or fire. You can't scale down either, so suddenly raindrops look huge, or a fire looks disproportionate. In these cases, you create bigatures. In the movie The Impossible, about a devastating tsunami that hit Thailand, they created a 1:3 scale of a Thai hotel, big enough so the waves looked realistic. In Inception, they created a 40-foot fortress to blow up, so that the explosions would look like the right size. If you still don't believe me, I will demonstrate with one of my Matchbox cars on fire while it's raining.